What does a 20-year-old Japanese actress from, like, 1995 have in common with today's biggest YouTube stars?
I mean, on the surface, you'd think absolutely nothing,
Yeah,
right?
right, exactly. But when you look at the brutal mathematics of the creator economy, they're playing the exact same game.
Oh, for sure. The relentless demand to evolve, feeding the algorithm, or just facing immediate obsolescence.
Yeah. So I want you to imagine having to produce a feature-length film. You have to learn the blocking, figure out the character arc, navigate lighting, and deliver a compelling physical performance.
Which is already exhausting.
Totally. Now imagine wrapping that production, going to sleep, waking up, and immediately starting a brand new feature film.
Just nonstop.
Non-stop. Keep that pace up, releasing a brand new movie every single month for 7 years straight.
Wow. The sheer physical and, mental endurance required to sustain that kind of schedule is just staggering.
It's insane.
It really is. You aren't just working, right? You're living in this perpetual state of production. And in the mid-1990s, physical distribution was everything.
Oh yeah, the peak of VHS.
Exactly. VHS and early DVD rentals. If you didn't have a new tape hitting those video store shelves every 3 to 4 weeks, the customer just rented someone else's movie.
It was basically the 1995 equivalent of the modern digital feed.
Yep, it was the analog algorithm.
So today, we are doing a deep dive into someone who mastered that brutal analog algorithm. We're looking at the career of Aika Miura, who was born Yu Hasegawa.
All right.
She was a wildly popular, award-winning Japanese actress in the mature cinema space. She was known specifically as an AV idol, and she was primarily active from 1995 to 2002.
Which is a long time in that industry.
A lifetime, really. And the mission today, using our stack of sources, which includes biographical profiles, translated encyclopedic entries, and detailed filmographies, is to explore how a young woman from a deeply conservative background navigated this.
Navigated one of the most stigmatized, intensely demanding industries on Earth.
Exactly. And she didn't just survive it. She built this massive cinematic legacy and just continuously reinvented herself to maintain her fan base.
It's a fascinating case study, not just in physical endurance, but psychological resilience, really.
Absolutely.
And to truly grasp her impact, we have to define what an AV idol actually was in 1990s Japan.
Right, because it's different over there.
Completely different. To a Western audience, adult entertainment actress carries a very specific, often marginalized connotation. But the idol culture in Japan adds this entire different layer of marketing and parasocial connection.
They're basically marketed like mainstream pop stars, right?
Exactly. They had massive meet and greets, branded merchandise, serialized magazine columns. They weren't just anonymous performers on a tape. They were heavily, heavily cultivated personality.
Okay, let's unpack this from the very beginning, because when you say cultivated personality, my immediate reaction is just like skepticism.
Sure, that makes sense.
Right. Was this actually a masterclass in personal brand management, or was she just a 20-year-old kid surviving an exploitative studio system? Like, did she really have agency here?
That is the exact right question to ask. And the context of 1990s Japan is crucial.
Right, because of her background. Born Yu Hasegawa in November 1975 in the Kanagawa Prefecture. Very traditional family.
Very traditional. The economic bubble had burst, but societal expectations for young women in regional areas like Kanagawa were still incredibly conservative.
So go to school, get a quiet corporate job,
Yeah.
get married.
Exactly. So defying that to enter the mature film industry wasn't just a career pivot. I mean, it was a massive cultural transgression.
And she debuts at age 20, right? March 1995, with a studio called Kuki under their Tank label.
Yep, that was the start.
Today, you see young creators starting, like edgy TikToks or whatever, and they get pushback from their parents. But the stakes in 1995 Japan, entering a highly stigmatized physical media space, they're astronomically higher.
Oh, absolutely. The cultural taboo is immense.
You'd assume the psychological toll of that family dynamic would just crush a young performer.
You really would assume that, but her specific family dynamic challenges that whole narrative.
How so?
Well, despite their profound disapproval of her career, she and her family didn't sever ties. They actually stayed close.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and it gives us one of the most revealing insights into her mindset. Our sources document this interaction where her father fiercely scolded her for her career.
Right, he criticized her for, quote, making money from pleasure.
Yes, exactly.
I love her response to this.
Yeah.
It just completely dismantles the fantasy.
It really does. She fires back by pointing out that many of her highly demanding roles in niche subgenres, specifically scenes with intense physical restriction and complex power dynamics, were uh, absolutely not what anyone would call fun.
She basically tells him, you think this is a party? Try hanging suspended in an unair-conditioned warehouse for 10 hours while hitting your lighting marks.
Exactly. It completely recontextualizes her agency.
She wasn't viewing this as some hedonistic rebellion. She was looking at it through a really pragmatic, almost blue-collar lens.
Right. To her, this was grueling, uncomfortable labor. She humanized the work for her father, basically saying, look, I am putting in intense physical effort to earn this paycheck.
And that pragmatic, detached professionalism is exactly what allowed her to become a machine of reinvention. Right?
Precisely. Because she viewed it as a demanding job rather than her identity, she could completely compartmentalize the work.
Which you'd have to do, given the scale of it.
Oh, the mathematics of her output are wild. Averaging one feature film a month for 7 years requires an impossible amount of novelty.
Because if the studio puts you in the same scenario 3 months in a row, the video store owners just stop ordering your tapes.
Exactly. The market demands constant aggressive evolution.
And the variety is just dizzying. Let's look at the back half of her debut year, 1995. In September, she releases a film called Summer Memory.
Right, which tapped into exhibitionist themes.
Yeah, highly controversial but dominating the sales charts at the time. The entire film is shot outdoors.
It was a massive logistical undertaking. All the intimate performance art in this specific video was filmed on location.
Including, like, a public beach, right?
Yep, extensive sequences on a public beach. It was this bold, envelope-pushing move designed to generate immediate buzz.
But she doesn't just build her brand on that one gimmick. Literally the next month, October 1995, she pivots entirely and releases Costume Doll.
Diving headfirst into the cosplay genre.
Yeah. In a single feature, she inhabits the characters of a nurse, a bride, a high schooler, and a pizza delivery girl.
And we have to ask why the studio structured it that way, you know?
To cast a wider net.
Exactly. In a pre-streaming era, you had to maximize the rental appeal of a single physical tape. By cramming 4 distinct fantasies into one product, they were acting as a human algorithm.
Right, guaranteeing a rental from 4 entirely different consumer demographics.
Precisely.
Then, the very next month, November 1995, we get Setting Off on a Trip. This is a heavy pivot away from visual gimmicks into a narrative-driven film.
Right, a real story.
She plays a young woman who travels to Fukuoka to meet a famous artist she admires, only to discover he's this deceitful, lecherous character. She has to deliver a full dramatic arc before the physical performance even begins.
It's a lot to ask of a 20-year-old.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I was trying to think of a modern equivalent to this kind of whiplash, and the closest thing is a sketch comedy actor on Saturday Night Live.
Oh, that is a brilliant comparison.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You have to invent an entirely new persona, learn new blocking, wear a new costume, and inhabit a completely different scenario week after week just to survive the churn.
You have to be an absolute chameleon.
Exactly. And that's what she was doing, but with full feature films.
And what elevates Aika Miura above simply surviving that churn is the critical reception. She wasn't just producing volume, she was delivering recognized quality.
The awards, right?
Yeah, by December of 1995, her film Fantasy wins a major award from Video Boy magazine, which was highly influential then.
So within 9 months of her debut, she goes from an unknown kid to an award-winning actress who has mastered outdoor exhibitionism, cosplay, and dramatic narrative arcs.
It's an unbelievable trajectory. But as we see across any high-pressure creative industry from 90s cinema to modern vloggers, that level of relentless production extracts a heavy toll.
You just can't sustain it without hitting a breaking point.
No, you really can't.
Which brings us to early 1996. Even with the awards and the financial success, the burnout hits hard. In February of 1996, after releasing a film called Countdown, she just hits a wall and announces a temporary retirement.
Stepping completely away from the camera.
It was a tactical retreat.
A very necessary one. But the break only lasted until May of that same year.
Right. But when she comes back, she doesn't just pick up where she left off. She fundamentally alters her identity.
She does. She drops her full stage name, Yu Hasegawa.
And returns under a single mononym, O-I-K-A, stylized in all Roman alphabet capital letters, A-I-K-A.
A huge shift.
I want to look at the branding strategy here. Was this just like a slick 90s graphic design choice? Or does changing your name to a bold, all-caps monolith signify a deeper psychological shift?
Oh, it's definitely deeper.
Right. Did she need to transition from being a vulnerable human being into an indestructible brand to handle what was coming?
The evolution of her filmography strongly suggests it was exactly that, a psychological shield. Immediately following this rebrand, she sharply pivoted away from the naive, innocent
The
roles.
early stuff.
Yeah, she began taking on incredibly intense, extreme, mature themes.
The content gets significantly heavier and darker from what the sources say.
Extremely so. She engages in simulated scenarios involving severe physical restriction, intense power dynamics, and highly provocative boundary-pushing themes.
In releases like Wed in Deep Love and Poison, right?
Yes, and there's a fascinating critical analysis of her work from this era. It notes that her filmography tracks a very distinct long-form psychological arc.
Wait, really? Break that down for us, because a serialized character arc in this specific genre is fascinating.
It is. The analysis argues that viewers who followed her monthly releases were basically watching a continuous character evolution.
Okay.
The early films represent this hesitant initiation into the world of adult entertainment. But as the all-caps AIKA brand solidifies, the characters undergo a dawning self-awareness.
Like they're growing up.
Exactly. They move toward a full, unashamed acceptance of their deepest, most extreme desires. She wasn't playing the victim of circumstance anymore. She was taking active ownership of these intense scenarios.
Wow. It's the armor of the brand.
Yes.
The human being, the girl from Kanagawa, might be exhausted or dealing with family drama, but the brand AIKA is fearless.
Completely fearless.
And because that brand became so bulletproof, the studios realized they had lightning in a bottle. By the late 90s, they aren't just putting her in standard hotel room scenarios anymore.
Not at all.
They start building these increasingly elaborate, highly produced, and frankly surreal cinematic universes entirely around her.
Which is a classic hallmark of a performer transcending their genre. When the audience will pay to watch you do literally anything, writers and directors are free to experiment with wild, absurdist concepts.
And the concepts were wild. In 1996, she stars in a provocatively titled internet movie.
The Internet F film.
Right. And keep in mind, this is 1996. Most of the general public barely understood how a dial-up modem worked. But the studio is already using her to capitalize on early internet-themed concepts.
Showing how online technology was just beginning to influence media.
She was consistently positioned at the absolute cutting edge of the cultural zeitgeist.
She really was. But the absolute pinnacle of this highly produced, absurdist era has to be the December 1997 release from the Alice Japan studio.
Oh, Inhumanity.
Inhumanity. The plot of this film is staggering in its convoluted ambition.
This is crazy.
Aika plays a newlywed bride who is tragically struck by a car and suffers from total amnesia.
It's literally a daytime soap opera trope dialed up to 11.
Exactly. But then, 9 different men arrive at the hospital, each claiming to be her true husband.
Naturally.
And the mechanism by which she tries to identify the real groom. She must engage in highly intimate performance art with each of the 9 men, hoping the physical connection sparks her memory.
Is the most ridiculous, contrived excuse imaginable to get a performer into 9 different complex scenes.
It really is.
But if you think about it, modern digital creators do the exact same thing today.
Oh, definitely.
Look at Mr. Beast building a functional Willy Wonka chocolate factory. Or, surviving in a buried coffin. The stunts have to become increasingly massive just to hold attention.
Right. The stakes have to constantly raise.
The fact that Alice Japan built this massive, expensive narrative structure around her proves how much gravity she had. Audiences weren't just showing up for the mature themes anymore. They wanted to see how Ayake would navigate this bizarre universe.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, all 9 men turn out to be imposters.
Of course they do.
The real husband finally arrives at the very end of the film. But your point stands perfectly. The studio invested massive resources into this complex, multi-day shoot purely because the AIK brand guaranteed a return on investment.
But the machine always demands its toll, doesn't it?
Yeah.
After reaching these surreal heights, the burnout returns.
It always does.
In 1998, she steps away from film entirely. She doesn't stop working, though. She pivots her monetization strategy.
Right, utilizing her massive fame to work as a stage performer, dancing in live venues across the country.
It's a brilliant strategic withdrawal. She rests her cinematic persona, avoids oversaturating the VHS market, but still monetizes her celebrity in a live medium.
It was incredibly smart, and when she eventually returns to the screen, she achieves something that is almost unheard of in her industry.
She gets the ultimate mainstream crossover.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the significance of this moment just cannot be overstated. In 2001, 6 years after debuting as a stigmatized 20-year-old, she stars in a mainstream, theatrically released widescreen film.
Miura Aika Streetcar Ecstasy.
Yeah.
An actual theatrical release playing in traditional cinemas.
It is exceedingly rare for a niche adult entertainment performer to cross over into a theatrical release like that. And more importantly, the film is named directly after her.
They're using the Miura Aika name to sell traditional movie tickets to the general public.
Exactly. It definitively proves she hadn't just built a lucrative fan base within a subculture. She had established an undeniable, immense cultural footprint across Japanese media.
It is the absolute climax of a wildly unconventional career. I mean, she beat the system.
She really did.
She navigated the crushing stigma of her background, survived the brutal burnout of a one-film-a-month schedule, built this indestructible monolith of a brand, and crossed over into the mainstream.
And having reached that mountaintop, she decides to step away on her own terms.
Right. She officially retired from the adult entertainment industry the following year, in 2002.
But the architecture of the brand she built was so strong that her impact lingered long after she stopped performing.
Her back catalog was just vast.
Vast, varied, and culturally significant. Studios were still generating massive profits from her work years later.
Yeah, the sources mentioned that in 2007, a full 5 years after she retired, they released a semi-documentary and compilation called Best of Best Deluxe.
Serving entirely as a monument to her legacy.
So what does this all mean? Why spend an entire deep dive analyzing the mechanics of an AV idol from 1990s Japan?
That's a fair question.
Well, because whether you are grinding away trying to climb the ladder in a traditional corporate job, or you're a young creator trying to build an audience on YouTube, Aika Miura's career is a masterclass in professional survival.
Absolutely. She demonstrates the sheer power of a pragmatic work ethic. By treating a stigmatized path as a serious, physically demanding profession, she removed the emotional volatility from the work.
And she teaches us the critical importance of knowing when to set boundaries.
Yes. Those brief retirements in 1996 and 1998 didn't derail her career, they saved it.
They allowed her to reset and return stronger.
Exactly. And above all, she showcases the absolute necessity of constant reinvention. You cannot remain stagnant if you want to stay relevant.
You have to be willing to evolve your brand. From the naive newcomer to the all-caps icon, taking on increasingly complex challenges to keep your audience engaged.
It's the only way to survive a market designed to replace you.
Which brings me to a final thought I want to leave you with today. We live in an era where modern digital creators frequently hit a wall of intense burnout after just a few months of daily posting from the comfort of their bedrooms.
A very real, paralyzing phenomenon.
It is. But when you look at the relentless mechanics of Aika Miura's career, it makes you wonder, how does someone sustain a grueling, highly scrutinized, and physically demanding performance career, producing a feature film every single month for 7 straight years without losing their core sense of self?
It requires a profound psychological separation between the performer and the performance.
Building a persona so strong that it absorbs all the impact, leaving the human being underneath untouched. It's the armor of the brand. When the director yelled action on that beach or in that hospital set, it wasn't the conservative girl from Kanagawa performing. It was Aika.
That's right.
And that ability to turn the machine on, dominate the market, and then turn it off and walk away, that might just be her greatest legacy of all.